Hi guys, Adam here, also known as Gamer Abroad, coming to you on my gaming channel, Gaming Abroad. And today we're going to do a video on the Orc team, which is actually a really good team for winning the war of attrition and smashing the other players on the opponent's team. It is one of the toughest teams in the game. First, let's start with some rosters. The first two rosters I'm going to show you are rosters I really like, but one caveat there, it doesn't come with the untrained troll. At the end of the roster section of this video, I'm going to break down all the different positions and how you should probably build them as you level them up. But first, let's take a look at a couple of rosters. This roster I like to call the 3 reroll orcs. So we'll start here with the 3 rerolls. I think rerolls are very important for orcs since they do have a little bit of trouble picking up the ball early on until you can get a sure hands on a goblin or something like that. But I'll show you the roster here. So we'll start with 3 orc linemen, a single thrower. Now the throwers has a little bit of a caveat to it. We're gonna get into that when I start breaking down the players' abilities. We're gonna go with 3 blitzers, which is not ideal because a blitzer is a strong player, but we're gonna go with the big guys, 4 of those, 4 of the big unblockers. And that is gonna take us to exactly 1 million gold. So you're not gonna have any money to buy any dedicated fans. However, after a couple games, it'll even out to about 3 or 4 dedicated fans as you start winning games. And then later on, you can buy an apothecary and another blitzer. Anyhow, let me show you the next roster that I really like. This roster is going to include all the big guys except for the troll, of course. As I said earlier, it's going to have the 4 big unblockers, the 4 blitzers. It's going to have 2 linemen and a single goblin and 3 rerolls. And much like the third roster, it's going to be difficult to fill that goblin on defense, but you kind of have to do it. However, this one will get you that extra blitzer and we'll keep the 3 rerolls, and the dedicated fan still applies, and that comes to 1 million gold exactly. Now, if you really want to get that untrained troll in there, I'll show you a good roster that will get him in there. Now, this roster will include all of the powerhouse players of the team, so that'll be 1 untrained troll, all 4 of the blitzers, all 4 of the big unblockers. In order to fill out that team a little bit, we're going to need to throw in those 2 goblins. That's going to bring you to 11 players, and then you can afford 2 rerolls after that. Same thing with dedicated fans applies, but now you have all the powerhouse in the team. I personally like and dislike this roster because the untrained troll, he's kind of dumb, and we'll get into that right now. So let's start looking at the different players and their different positions, starting with the untrained troll. And when I say that he's kind of dumb, it's this ability really stupid. So essentially you have to make a roll every time you move the guy on a 1 to 3. The player ends and he loses his tackle zone. If the player was attempting an action usable once per turn, it is consumed. At a 4+, it allows him to play normally. So to get this guy really to do anything is kind of difficult. One big advantage of the untrained troll, however, is this projectile vomit, which replaces the block skill. And on a 1, the player is covered in his own vomit, but on a 2 or higher, you will make an armor value test without the modifier on the victim. If successful, the target is prone and undergoes an injury test, which is really nice. He has the throw teammate ability. However, there's a caveat to doing that. He's always hungry. There's a chance that he could eat the teammate, and re-rolling on the untrained troll is very difficult. He has regeneration and an armor value of 10+, so you can be pretty sure that he's going to stick around for quite a while. However, I just want to point out that projectile vomit isn't compatible with multiple block or frenzy, so just keep that in mind as you're building the troll out. The first skill you're going to want to take is from the primary tree, and that is guard. Guard is a necessity for the orc teams. You don't really need to get block on this guy because he's got the projectile vomit. So the other 2 skills I would go for are stand firm, brawler, and then perhaps grab. Grab would be a really good ability. On the agility tree, I would go with defensive, and to the general tree and possibly pro, because that will help you with a really stupid roll, so you can actually use the troll when you want to use him. The guy is a complete moron, so it's really hard to get him to do what you want. Now let's take a look at the big uns. Now the big uns come with a skill called Animosity Big Unblocker. A lot of the players on this team have Animosity, but this one has it specifically for other big unblockers. They want to be the best big unblocker on the team, and once you give them the ball, they don't want to give the ball up. So if you try to pass or hand off, you have to roll a die 6. On a result of 1, the action will fail. I mean, a lot of the times you're not going to fail, but there is that 1 in 6 chance you will. So keep that in mind. And I know I just said something about passing the ball. It's more like handing off the ball, because the big unblocker, it's worth noting, has no passing ability whatsoever. He cannot pass the ball. The skills you're going to want to pick up on a big unblocker is block. He doesn't come with block, and as I've said in many of my videos, block is a staple for any player that's going to have body-to-body contact. Then we're going to go into the strength tree, which is a primary tree. We're going to go with guard and then mighty blow, and this will make your big unblocker a great Blitzer. Now let's take a look at the Blitzers themselves. The Blitzers come with a skill block, which is very, very good. Block is a great skill. However, it's worth pointing out that this one has animosity all teammates. So once this one gets the ball, he wants to be the star player of the team, and you're gonna have to roll that d6, and on a 1 result, you're gonna lose your action, and you're not gonna pass that ball whatsoever. However, it is also worth noting that this one does actually have a passing ability on a 4 and up, so a 50% chance to pass the ball. Not very good. Orcs aren't very good at throwing the ball at all. There's a couple ways you can build your Blitzer. One is a very aggressive killer, and if you want to do that, you're going to want to pick up Tackle, and then the Strength tree, Mighty Blow, and then back to the General tree, and Frenzy. That'll make him a very, very aggressive killing type player. If you want to make him more of a support, after you got your aggressive killer going, you're going to want to go to the Strength tree, back to the Guard. Guard is a fantastic skill for the Orc team, and then Mighty Blow, and then back to the General tree for Tackle. And after that, you could even go with Stand Firm. I mentioned the Orcs not being a very good passing team, so with that in mind, let's actually take a look at the Thrower. Now the Thrower, this is hilarious. He has animosity all teammates. So this is the passer of the team, and he has the animosity of all the teammates. So he doesn't want to pass the ball, which I think is absolutely hilarious. All of these Orcs are super selfish. They want to be the star players. They don't want to give up the ball to anybody. But he has a little bit of a better passing stat than the Blitzer, I would hope, being the Thrower. It's a 3+. It's not as good as an Elf Thrower, but he does come with the ability Pass and Sure Hands, which does make him a pretty decent throw it nonetheless. But good luck trying to get your Orcs to actually catch the ball. You're going to have to skill into that later. The Thrower is a little bit slower than the Blitzer at 5 movement allowance, where the Blitzer has 6. And some say the Blitzer is a better ball carrier because of the extra movement, but I don't agree with this. I think it's okay to have the Thrower as a ball carrier. Just build a cage. I don't think it's worth it to build a Blitzer as a ball carrier. There are better uses for them for sure. Some excellent skills to pick up first for your Thrower would be down in the passing tree, and that would be on the ball. That will allow him to move up to 3 squares to get closer to the ball, and that actually makes up for a little bit of his 1 less movement allowance because you'll get 3 squares free right off the bat. And then of course you're going to want to pick up Leader. Leader is a great way to get cheap rerolls for your team, and then after that, accurate, so you can pass with a little bit more accuracy with that +1 on your passing test. If you were to go to character stat and roll any of those, I believe they were all good, but movement allowance would make a very, very strong Thrower. Now let's take a look at the Line Orc. Your Line Orc is basically your line of scrimmage fighter, and your bodies for the cage. They also have animosity. However, this animosity is for Orc linemen only. So as an example, you can pass to a big one can go to a lineman, etc. He's not animosity all like your Blitzer or your Thrower, and I think it's very, very strange to have your Thrower with animosity all. But hey, that's Orcs for you. Let's take a look at his skills. There's only really 2 core skills that you need with a lineman, and that is block, staple skill for body-to-body contact, and then into the strength tree, which is secondary, I want to point out, and that would be guard. After that, there's many different ways you can go with the Orc lineman. And finally, let's take a look at the last player on the team, and that would be the Goblin. Goblins have a AV of +8 and a strength of 2. They are going to die a lot on you. Fortunately, they're relatively cheap at 40k per player. I was playing my Elven team in the ladder the other day and actually killed 2 goblins in that game. It's quite funny. There is one way to build a cheesy type goblin if you want to actually throw them to get a 1-turn touchdown, and if you wanted to do that, you're going to want to get Sure Feet, Sprint, of course, and then Catch, and possibly an additional movement allowance. That'll make him a great 1-turn touchdown. It's a really cheesy thing to do. It's not my personal favorite way to play goblins on an Orc team, but it is a possibility. A goblin is a perfect opportunity to pick up your sneaky get / dirty player combination, so you can assault some of the better players and get them off the team with some fouls. In a recent game I also played in ladder, I saw my opposing player use goblins as his ball carrier. He had Sure Hands on him, and he would pick up the ball and he would build a cage around him and walk him down the field. I was playing against him with elves. I had a really, really hard time breaking his cage, and he did score 2 touchdowns on me with that route, and I was only able to score 1. He won the war of attrition. He knocked out 5 of my players. By the end of the game, it was quite ugly. Luckily, none of my players died. I licked my wounds, took my loss, and moved on. But that's a story for one of my live streams. However you choose to build your Orc teams, one of the things you should focus on as you start generating money is getting a 12th player or possibly even a 13th player. Your goblins are gonna die and they're going to die often, so don't get too attached to them. Another way to combat that would of course to be an apothecary, and once you have done those things, it's likely that your dedicated fans have evened out to 2 or 3 or possibly even 4. If not, it's only 10k to get a dedicated fan. You'll start getting the money. Everything will be okay. I think orcs are a great team to play. They're a lot of fun for very aggressive players that enjoy killing other people's players. I know I play elves a lot, so I know they're having fun where I'm not. So if this is your style of Blood Bowl, they're a great team. They're just not going to score many touchdowns, but they can win games by fighting the war of attrition and hurting the other players. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick guide on the Orc team. My name is Adam, also known as Gamer Abroad, and this is my gaming channel, Gaming Abroad. If you guys want to see what it's like to be an expat living in Vietnam, you can check out my main channel, Gamer Abroad, and also a small gesture from you, such as hitting that subscribe button, would mean a lot to me. I'm a full-time teacher here in Vietnam, and I'm also a gamer, just like you. It takes some time out of my day to make these videos so I can share my passion and my hobby of gaming with you guys, and I would really, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button to encourage me to continue making these videos and sharing my passion with you. Either way, whatever you guys decide, thanks for coming out and watching my video. You guys are awesome, and I really hope you guys stay that way.